The Edo State House of Assembly on Tuesday passed a resolution to suspend chairman and vice chairman of the 18 local government councils of the state for 2 months. The state lawmakers also directed the leaders of the legislative arms to take over leadership of their respective councils. The action was sequel to a motion moved by member representing Eson Northeast 1 Isibo Ade and seconded by Donald Okogbe, who represents Akoko Edo 2 state constituency. Earlier, Governor Monday Okpebholo had written a petition to the House of Assembly over the purported refusal of the chairman to submit financial records of their local government councils to the state government. Polarized news analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss this development. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sobowale.
Good afternoon.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. So let's talk about this. Are we looking at with these how the chairman and the vice chairman have reacted as an insubordination or an overreach? The governor's petition, of course, describing the refusal for them to submit their records as insubordination. Could this suspension in itself be an overreach of executive and legislative power, or a justified action to ensure accountability?
It is an overreach.
Why do you think so?
Blatantly, it is an overreach. As you can see, it may sound like a misuse of power, but all these things are premeditated. Because the councils did not exist in a vacuum. Get me? You know that we are still fighting for autonomy for the local governments in terms of elections, in terms of finances. In terms of elections, hitherto, it is the state, the party in power in the state that conducts local government elections, and invariably they win. So the last power has changed in Edo State from one party to the other. But it was during the tenure of the last party that the local government people came into being. So the governor doing what he's doing is premeditated. It's not as if he's just testing the law. But then it's a test of our rule of law and separation of powers. You have the executive, you have the judiciary, and you have the legislation. Now, in this particular scenario, the executive is playing ball with the legislation. You get me? Mm-hmm. To thwart a court decision on the ground that there should be a stay of action because there's a case in court, but the governor has moved with collusion with the legislature to take action. It is illegal, but it will all, at the end of the day, be settled in the court of law, because you're under the rule of law. Let's leave it at that for now.
And what is this signal about local government autonomy and the discussions that have been had and the passings of bills? What is this signal?
It shows that it is overdue. There's urgent, that it should have been done even yesterday. You get me? And you see, I strongly believe that until and unless you have democracy at the grassroots, which is where the local government, you have democracy in an undiluted form. You get me? In a situation where we can have free and fair election, where people can be allowed to vote, where the votes are not bought, then it is only when we have that we can claim to be functioning under the rule of law, that we are running a democracy, or that there are people who are getting the dividends of democracy. As it is now, it is a power play. But what I'm trying to get my point to say is that it's not as if the party that won did not expect this, because they did not live in a vacuum. So they have planned it, and of course the opposition too will fight them. My concern is that they should not degenerate into fisticuffs or violence or political instability. But it is just unfolding. See, the court gave a ruling Monday, and they are acting the following day or something like that. And you see, the PDP had gone to court earlier and gotten a restraining order in anticipation of this. But it happened all the same. So let's see now how the governor, after being prompted that he is violating the court order, let's see how he will react. But like I said, it's a battle for the courts, for adjudication, and that's the essence of our separation of power. The executive will use power, the legislature will make laws and vet budget, and the courts will interpret. So it's a judicial session now. Yeah, I see.
I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, seeing that the House Speaker is insisting that all members must comment on the matter. Do you think that this in itself reflects a healthy democratic process, or it's just pressuring dissenting voices to conform?
No, but they voted all the same. So dissent is allowed regardless of your opinion.
But then knowing exactly what the votes, who is behind which votes, kind of knowing where they stand.
But it was they had no consensus. But that even is the collusion between the executive and the legislation now, and which is apparent because they won the last election. You see, it's not peculiar to us. If you look at international situations, Trump is coming in now. The Democrats are preparing court cases to challenge what he will do to them when he gets there. That's the rule of law. You see, as long as this does not degenerate into violence or political instability. That is, you see, Edo State, the former part of the former Benin, is a volatile place. And they have strong political viewpoints. So the security must be stepped up there to see that this plays out in a very calm and peaceful atmosphere. Yes.
And it seems like Edo State seems to be a hotbed of activity. So what is the way forward now? And
let the court cases play themselves out and we watch. And let's hopefully pray that the rule of law will prevail and there will be no violent fisticuffs or whatever. Right.
Yeah, but when we touch on the autonomy, or like you've touched on now, the separation of powers, I mean, we earlier in the year heard or saw when the president, with the body language of saying that they are completely responsible for their own finances. But then seeing this suspension happening, it almost seems like we're still seeing that intervention, or let's say interruption from the legislative affecting, the powers that be, the local chairmen themselves.
Yes, you see, there's political autonomy, which they don't have, which is what the Supreme Court has ruled about and given the go-ahead. But government has put in place a committee to implement that, but it has not gotten on board. And you see, when the president was given his budget, he said his government is committed to have civil servants who implement his budget or his policies. That's part of it. That is part of the bureaucracy that even the president himself acknowledges. This financial autonomy is still in the pipeline. But this one is political autonomy.
They kind of go hand in hand, the political and financial autonomy. Can you have one and not have the other?
They are mutually exclusive, but they are all towards the same goal of making democracy trickle down to the grassroots. That's why I'm interested in both. You see the financial autonomy, even with the proclamation of the Supreme Court, it's still being thwarted or delayed. Now, not to talk about, nobody has even tackled the political autonomy, because it's any party in power in the state that wins elections. And the last one made sure it did election before it went away. If it had won, there would have been no problem, but it lost. So it's part of politics now. I keep on saying it. My favorite definition of politics is who gets what, when, and how. That is what is on play. But this time now, so that they don't batter each other too much, the courts will interpret and decide, hopefully.
Well, we certainly hope so, and we hope that they stick to the court rulings, as we know that...
And it doesn't fall into violence.
That rules are often flouted. But Mr. Sobowale, Dayo Sobowale, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon here on Newsday, as always.